uh, minimize this. I don't need this right now. Okay, so today's topic, as I was telling you, is object relational mapping, or ORMs. And here I have a pristine workspace, Eclipse workspace, and we'll create a project that is going to use the ORM technology. Right now, in Java, the object relational mapping technology is the library or the API that implements Java's implementation of the ORM is the JPA, or Java Persistence API, right? And this has a history. At first, there was a EJB. Does anybody remember EJB? Good. Good if you don't remember. It was a first attempt at dealing with this problem, right? You have objects running in your application, and you want to persist them to a database, right? It had a very complicated life cycle, very complicated API. Everybody hated it, so many other alternatives, open source alternatives, were looking at a better solution. One of the ones that became very popular was Hibernate as an alternative to EJB. It became very, very popular. People loved it. It's very, very simple. Give me an object, I'll just store it, right? I'll just push it down to a database, right? I'll look at the schema of the object as a class in the class, right? The class was the schema, right? In the object world, and I'll try to map it to a schema with the same field names, right? Same table names of the class, and I'll try to map it to a table in the database. Very, very easy. EJB went through several iterations. EJB 1, EJB 2, and then some microsystems perhaps just gave up and says Hibernate has such a much better solution. Let's see what they're doing. And a lot of they approached Hibernate and many other in the community, in the Java community, and they said, well, what are the great things about Hibernate? And they borrowed a lot of the same ideas that Hibernate had come up with throughout the years, and they made it a standard. Right, so here's a standard based on all the ideas that were collected through public hearings and public forums. Hibernate had a lot of input into this, right? And now it's a formal API. Okay, made it into Java's formal API, and the API is called JPA. Okay, Java Persistent, it's very similar to Hibernate's API. Today, Hibernate just happens to be one of many providers that implement the JPA specification. Okay. Now, like Java always does, they always come up with a standard, right, or a base implementation that then other vendors can then borrow or copy from or measure their implementations against the base implementation. Okay, like Tomcat, right? It's a base implementation for all J2EE servers, right? And then every other server, obviously WebSphere or WebLogic or whatever, they all add to this, right? Add to whatever Tomcat. The base implementation of Tomcat, they add their own things to differentiate from themselves from different vendors, right? So same thing with JPA. Right? There's the basic implementation, and then each vendor is free to implement. They implement the base implementation, and then they're free to add additional things, right, beyond the standard. Okay. Now the base implementation for JPA is Eclipse Link. Okay? Eclipse Link is the base reference implementation of the JPA standard. Okay, and that's what we're going to be using today. There are many JPA providers. Hibernate is one of them. Okay, Eclipse Link is the reference implementation. There's quite a few. ObjectDB, that's another one. Very, very fast. Also for high performance is also very recommended. But we're going to use the base reference implementation, which is Eclipse Link. All right. So let's get started. All right, so let's create here a project, brand new project. So we'll call it. This is a dynamic web project, and what do we call it? Movie. What is it? Movie social network. Is that it? Okay. Notice that I don't even have a server here, right? So let me create a brand new server here. Tomcat 8. Go next, and I'll tell it where it's located. It's local here. There it is. Open, and say finish. And then we're gonna say next, next, and then generate a web.xml. Although we're not gonna be using web.xml, but I always like to have it. I'll finish that. And as far as we're concerned, this is just a basic web project. Okay, it has nothing special about it. Okay, while that's thinking, we might want to go to the database and see what. Oops. Where's the? Oh, did I minimize it? Yeah. Let's see. We had this movie social network that we were playing around with last week, right? We had tables. Let's create another one. Let's create a brand new schema for today's lecture. We'll call it ORM. And I'll make that. Let's see. Apply. So there we go. I'll make this the default schema. Okay, there it is. So I'll say set as a default schema, and I'll close this. And we're going to create a couple tables. So let's start off with just the movie table, right? So we'll have here create the table. We'll say that this is a movie. So here's an ID. It's a primary key, and it's going to be auto-incremented. The movie has maybe a title, which is a varchar, and maybe it has a plot, maybe 255. Maybe it has a poster. Okay, let's leave that. That's a URL, and that's also let's have it 255. Okay. Oh, and then we had what? Movie ID. Movie ID is a remote ID, right, from IMDb, right, so that we can always link it to a remote ID, right? So let's have here movie ID. Okay, let's apply and let's create that. There we go. So we have a movie. We say close, and then we can interact with this movie. Right, select rows. So there it is. We can start creating content. Maybe avatar. It's a long plot. Poster URL. And this is movie ID 321 ABC. Right, and Terminator plot poster URL 321 ASD. Okay. Apply. It's going to insert those two. There we go. And we have some data, right? So we can now select again, and there they are. So there's data in our table. Okay, everybody good? All right. All right, so we want to be able to connect to that database, and we already looked at how to do it with standard JDBC and DAOs using data sources. What we want to be able to do is use this new technology, ORMs, right? So what we're going to do is that first we're going to bring in the library for the jar file. The jar file that is the implementation of the connector that we're going to be using, right? Which is MySQL connector. I think I downloaded it here. There it is. So I'm just going to copy it and bring it over. I'll paste it here. If you prefer, there's another way of doing this, which is Maven. If you prefer to use Maven, if you know how Maven works, I would prefer that you use Maven instead. Okay. If you don't know what Maven is, that's fine. You can just follow along here. Okay. So there's the library, and I'm going to add this to the build path. Okay, we're all set. All right, so before we get started, we need to tell our web application, right? Well, let's see. Let's make sure that indeed we have a running web application. Let's create a hello world JSP file. So hello.jsp. And, ooh, that's small. Let me change that. All right, it's a brand new. It's a brand new workspace. Let's see, general, appearance, colors and font, basic, text and font, edit, and I don't know, 18. Apply, okay. All right, is that better? Okay. And let's say if we could make sure that this works, H1, hello world. Let me make sure that it runs on the server. Runs on the server, say yes, okay. And it is that one, yep. Finish, let's see. Okay, so we do have a running Tomcat, right? Very good. And let me stop the server. I don't want it to be, let me just stop it. Synchronize started. I'll stop it. Okay, very good. All right, so what we need to do here is first have it configure the new libraries that we're going to be using, Eclipse Links libraries, right? So that we can use JPA. Right, to do that, we're going to go to the properties, and we're going to go to project facets, and these are the installed modules that we're currently using. Right, we're using dynamic web module, Java module, JavaScript, although we're not really using it. And there's a whole bunch of other things. If we want to interact with XML and things like that, notice that we don't have the library for working with XML. That's this one, JAX-B, right? If we want to expose these URLs so that we can map URLs to executables over here, that would be JAX-RS for RESTful APIs. We don't have that module. We'll be working with that next week, all right? But today, well, we want to be able to, we want to be working with JPA. There it is, JPA, so that we can connect to the database using the ORM technique. Right, so we're going to connect that, and it says, oh, okay, you want to do that? There's additional configuration that is required. We have to tell it, you know, what database are you using, what table, what username, password, what JDBC connector are we using? So let's go in here. So what we're going to do is that you can choose a generic JPA or a specific library, right? We're going to be using Eclipse Link. This is the latest version, Eclipse Link 2.5, and we're going to download it. We're going to download the libraries. It's going to copy it locally on our workspace, right? So that all the projects that gets downloaded only once. All the projects that you would write under this workspace would use the same library. Okay, so this download only occurs once per workspace, right? So we're gonna, and this is where it's putting it, right? It's putting it under the ORM, right? That's my workspace, right? Under the libraries, and then in there it's storing Eclipse, the Eclipse Link libraries for the ORM. I'm gonna say next, and I'm gonna say accept, and it's just gonna go on and download it. Gonna take a couple of seconds there. All right. Once it downloads, it's gonna ask us, you know, what connector are you using to talk to the database? So I'll ask what database, what connector, and whatnot. There it is. Notice I don't have any connections. I need to create a brand new connection to a database. So I'll say add a connection, and you need to tell it, you know, what database. So MySQL, and I'll call this ORM new MySQL, right? I'll call the connection ORM MySQL. I'll say next. I need to tell it what driver, and I'll say that I'm using the MySQL 5.1 driver. I need to tell it where is the jar file, right? Which we copied, remember, and we pasted it in here. It wants to know where it is, so I'll tell it where physically it is. It's where is it? Under workspaces, workspaces under the ORM, and I put it under. Oh yeah, look at the libraries. That's the one that we just downloaded, right? That's Eclipse Link we just downloaded. Yeah, there it is. But anyway, our library, which we just copied the MySQL, I think we put it under web content, webinf lib, right? There it is. So I'll say that's what a jar file is. Okay, it could be anywhere. Okay, it could be anywhere in the file system, but I like to keep everything together in one single place that could be deployed as a single unit. Okay, as opposed to having then to have to tell it where to find that jar file. Okay, so I'm going to say okay. I'm going to say okay. Now it wants to know what database, right? So the database we're using, that's this database that we're using, that schema, that ORM, right? So I'm going to say that's the database I want you to connect to. The schema is ORM. ORM. And we can test the connection to see if it connects. It says, yes, I can connect to it. Right, so I successfully connected to the database. We can say next. We're all set. I'm going to finish. There it is. So that's the connection we're using. I believe that's it. I don't believe we need to do anything else. Okay. All right, we'll say okay. All right, I think we're all set. We have configured JPA libraries to be used in our project. All right. I'm going to say okay. What it's going to do here, you'll see that it added a brand new element here that was not there. You see that? JPI content was not there before we configured it, right? It added it. It's a facet. Notice that under there, the only thing that is available is this persistence.xml. Okay? This persistence.xml is where you configure the local system, right? Your web application that to say, hey, I'm going to connect using JPA, and this is where it's configured, right? So if we can double click that, right now it's empty. There's nothing there, right? The configuration of JPA is done through this XML document through what it's called a persistence unit. Okay, a persistence unit where you put all the configuration under there, right? Here you could put the provider. Who are you using as a provider? Are you using Hibernate? Are you using ObjectDB? Are you using Eclipse Link? What are you using? Okay. Notice that we haven't told it that. Yeah. Right. We haven't said that yet. Okay. We've only tested the connection to see if JPA can connect to. So anyway, this I can never remember what the XML looks like. So I'm just going to look it up. And what we're going to look up is persistence.xml I want a persistence.xml if I could spell. This is an XML, JPA, there's an XML. Oh, look at that, Eclipse Link MySQL. Right, so I want the XML, which is typically for Eclipse Link and MySQL. It's different for every provider, and it's different for every database vendor. Well, somewhat. Okay, there's a couple of standard things, right? But there's they have their own quirks. Right, so I'm going to go there, and I think this one is a good one over here. There it is. So I'm just going to copy this. I'm just going to copy this. I'll bring it over here. I'm just going to paste it down here. And I'm going to format the XML so it looks a little prettier. So the only difference here is that this has been configured already, and this one has not. So I'm just going to remove this. I'm going to keep everything else all the way up to here. Okay? So that now we have the provider and the persistent units. I'll remove that. There we go. Okay? This is the persistence that we're going to use. Let's see if it matches with what we want. Let's see. That's the persistence. It's for my project. We have here Eclipse Link. Notice that these are how we tell Eclipse Link, the provider of here's what we tell that we're going to use Eclipse Links as a provider for JPA. JPA is this Eclipse Link is the one who implements the JPA standard. Not Hibernate, not ObjectDB. We're using Eclipse Link as a provider for the ORM. And then we have configurations of how to tell the Eclipse Link what are the passwords, the username, and everything else, right? This is correct. Root is correct. Driver is correct.
the database is wrong, right? So this is for the example we copied. The database is ORM. Here we have drop and create tables configured. What that tells the Eclipse Sling is that if you see a Java class, right, try to create the table from the Java class, right? Meaning, every time you run this, drop all the tables, regenerate the schema in the remote database, right, in the database based on the Java classes. We don't want to do that, right? So I'm going to comment that out. Okay. Meaning I already have the schema, right? The schema is already there. I don't want it to throw it away. I have data there, right? I don't want it to kill my data in there. A log info is just going to log info messages. I'm going to say I want to log everything. Right? One of the cool things to look at is the SQL that it generates, because it generates the SQL. We don't have to write SQL ever again. That's it. There's no SQL from here to the end of the semester. There's no more SQL. Okay, it will either be written for us, right? Like this tool will write the SQL for us, right? And interact with the low-level SQL database, DBMS. Okay, so remember before, right? We are humans. Humans love to create abstractions. At first it was zeros and ones. Then we created a file, and then we created a programming language to manage files, and then we created a DBMS that taught sequels to those files, right? And then we're creating these abstractions on top of abstractions on top of abstractions, right? And then eventually we will forget, what's under here, right? At some point, maybe. And we're creating these abstractions. Right now we're in the ORM, and ORM will write the SQL for us, right? When we're using JDBC, we were writing still the SQL, right? But we were dealing with the DBMS directly. Now ORM will write the SQL for us. All right, I think we have everything. The only other thing here is that any class that we want to map, any class that needs to be mapped to a table, right? Remember, we want to create a relationship, a mapping that maps classes in Java or C# or whatever, PHP, right? And maps those classes, this object model, right? This data model, that maps it to this data model. So you have to list, right, for the ORM, for the JPA, you need to list which of those classes you want to map. Okay, in this case, we have this example class. What we're going to do is that we're going to create our own class, right? We're going to create our own class. We're going to put it under edu.neu.cs5200. What is it? Movie social network, right? MSN. Last week, I believe we said MSN.ds, right? Because we're looking at how to do it with a data source, right? Today, we're going to be using an ORM, right, to talk to the database, right? So I'm going to give it, say, ORM. So this is the ORM version of the same thing we were looking at last week. Yes. Under here, we're gonna put the various things, right? Under here, we're gonna put the DAOs, we're gonna put the models, right? We're gonna put all the things under here. We're gonna put the model under here, model. Okay, and under here, we're gonna put movie. So that class, right? That class which doesn't exist yet, is gonna map to the movie table. Okay, so let's copy this. Let's copy that, right? And go back and say I want to create a brand new class. Let's say new class. And this is very similar to what we did last week, right? So we're going to create, here's the package. Actually, like here are like plural models. And then this is going to be movie. Right? And say create. Right? And this I need to update this. The persistent XML, it's models, plural. Notice that it was red, right? It was red because it says I can't find that class, right? Oh, but I found it now, right? And now it goes away, right? So yes, I know that class. I'm looking at it, right? And I'm going to try and map it to that table over there, right? So let's create it now. This class could be generated automatically from the table, from the table. Instead, what we're going to do it manually, right? And later on, we'll see how this can be done automatically, right? So let's see. What do we have? ID, title, plot, poster, and movie ID, right? That's our schema. Okay, let's go back and let's do that. I think I'm gonna make this a little bigger. Edit 24. Apply. Okay. All right, there we go. So we have movie. Movie. What's it complaining about? It says class. It says it's listed. It's giving me a problem saying it's listed in persistent.xml, but you have to annotate it as something that's going to be mapped, right? Which we'll see in a second. The way we annotate it, okay, the way we annotate it and say, hey, this is not just any class. This is a class that is supposed to be mapped to a table in the database, right? And the way we do that is to annotate. We say that this is an entity, right? Meaning this maps to a schema in the database, right? We annotated. Let's see. Let's see. It's complaining. Okay, there it is. All these annotations and all these ORM classes and things that we're going to be using throughout today's lecture all live under javax.persistence, right? Those are the libraries, right? I'm sorry. Those are the interfaces that define the JPA standard. Okay, all the JPA standard interfaces are under the javax.persistence, right? And what Eclipse Link does is that it implements all those interfaces. Okay, so I'm going to say yes, do that. Very good. All right, so now it's happy. Right, notice that it included entity. Another thing that we need to do, let's see what was complaining. Oh yeah, so it has no primary key, right? So let's create a primary key. We need to create all these fields. So ID, let's create here private integer ID. What else we need here? We need title, which is a string, so it's private string title. Plot, so private string plot. And poster, so private string poster. And then movie ID, so private string movie ID. Okay. All right. So this ID this ID field here is a little bit different than these guys, right? These guys are just strings, right? Just holding data, but this is holding special kinds of data, right? This is a primary key, right? And we have to annotate it accordingly. The way we annotate it is by annotating it with the ID annotation. Okay, and this one says that this is the primary key. We need to include that imported. There it is. So it's an annotation under javax persistence. There it is. Okay. All right. So notice everything is fine. We don't have any errors. This successfully has identified that this class maps successfully to that table. Okay. Notice that if I create some other field, maybe, no, okay. Notice that it flashed red for a second. No, you have to complain. Well, usually it would underscore it saying that I don't see that field in the table. So the table does not have that field. Okay, it would complain. I don't know when it's not complaining. Usually it does. Anyway, what else do we need here? Let's see. We need the setters and getters, right? Right. So we'll see source setters and getters. For all of them, select all and say OK. Plus, we'll need the no argument constructor. So constructor, we'll choose one that has everything first, right, and then finally another one that has no argument constructor. Remember that if you do create, notice that, remember in Java and also in C#, if you don't declare a constructor, you get a default constructor for free, right? But if you declare at least one constructor that it is a no argument constructor, you will not get the no argument constructor for free. Okay, you'll have to declare it explicitly yourself. All right. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to declare the no argument constructor with no fields. There it is. Okay. And the no argument constructor is required because the framework is going to be instantiating our objects, right? It is going to be reading a row in the database. It's going to instantiate our object here. It's going to populate it with the values it finds in the records, right? We're not going to be doing that. We were doing that last week. Remember that? We were doing that ourselves, right? We were reading row field by field, right? Instantiating and then populating the object ourselves. We're not going to do that again, right? Instead, we're going to have the ORM do that for us, right? Okay, let's keep going. All right, I think we're done. Notice that this movie, right, class looks exactly the same like the movie class we were using last week, right? I mean, other than this annotation and that other annotation, other than these two annotations, this is a plain old Java object, right? There's nothing special about this, okay? And that's what's beautiful, right? That what it does is that JPA follows several conventions, right? That if you follow those conventions, everything becomes very, very simple, right? One of the conventions is that if the class name matches the name of your table, right, you don't have to configure the name of the table. Okay, if the name of the fields match the same names of the properties and attributes of the class map the fields in your table, again, there's very little configuration that you need to do. But if the name of the table is something weird, right? Something that perhaps it's an acronym, or it's a shortened version of a much longer name, okay, which is very typical in databases, right? That they shorten the name of the table, no more than 8 characters, perhaps. Yes, that's very typical. Or the fields, they might have underscores, or they might have something that is not Java-like naming, okay? You would need to configure that this field maps to that field. Okay, we don't need to, right? Because we're following convention. Well, we're following the naming convention. My table, my class matches a table name. All my fields in my class match the names of my table. Okay? Yes. So if that's the case, the only things that you need to configure is the naming it, annotating as an entity, and annotating the primary key. That's it. Okay, very easy. All right. Okay, we're done. We can start interacting with the movie. Let's create one more thing. Let's create a DAO, right? I want to go fetch all my movies. So I want to fetch a particular movie, right? Let's do that. Let me create another class here. But I'm not going to put it under models. I'm going to put it under DAO. And this is going to be movie DAO. Movie DAO. Right? And I'm going to create a main from here. Right? Okay, so there it is. So we have movie DAO and the main, right? So if you remember, movie DAO that we implemented last week provided all the various CRUD operations, right? Create, update, delete, read, and read all, right? Remember that? We're going to do the same thing here, but it's going to be much, much simpler, right? It's going to be a fraction of what we wrote last week, okay? Last week, we were explicitly using SQL, right, to go out and fetch things. We were using prepared statements, right? We were iterating over a result set, right? We're creating a list and populating that list, instantiating each object, populating the objects. I mean, it was a fair amount of work, okay? Over here, we're not going to need to do that at all. Right. All right. So to do that, to be able to interact using the JPA, technique is that first we have to get a hold of a very magical object. Okay. The magical object is called the entity manager. Right. It is the overall arching entry point into the JPA API. right? The entity manager is what is going to allow us to say, hey, here's an object, send it to the database. Okay? Or fetch me an object that has this ID, and it fetches it and it populates it and it gives it to you. Okay? So the entity manager is really what we need. Okay? Now to create one of these entity managers, if you're using Spring MVC, or if you're using one of these other techniques, typically these would be injected, right? And if you know how to do that, by all means, go ahead, go at it. If you use Spring MVC or one of these other inversion of control techniques, go ahead. Over here, I'm going to do it manually. Okay, I don't want to get into Spring MVC. There'll be a lot of web-related technologies that I don't want to cover. All right, so let's stick to just talking to a database. All right. Okay. All right, so we want this entity manager, a magical object that connects to a database. Right. For that, we're going to need an entity manager factory that knows how to instantiate these entity managers. Okay. And the factory, I need to import this, so I'm going to import it. There it is. It's part of the JPA. Right. So there it is. It's imported. To get a hold of a factory, I need to tell it what persistence units do you want to use. Remember that we have a persistence unit over here, right? We're using this movie social network. We want to tell it, use this persistence units, which uses this password, this root, this driver, connects to this database, to this particular schema, right? Right. Use that persistent unit to give me a factory that can create an entity manager that knows how to talk to this database. Okay, which I'm not going to give you the configuration. The configuration is outside in an XML document. That's where you'll find how to log in. That's where you will find out what driver to use. That's where you'll find what database I want to talk to, right? But within my factory, I can tell it I want to use that persistence unit, which is called, what is it called? This one, right? Let's use that persistence units over there. Okay. And now we have a factory that knows how to instantiate an entity manager, right? That knows how to connect to that database, right? Using that username, using that password, using that driver, right? And connecting to that particular schema. Okay. So let me get an entity manager, manager, em, factory dot create entity manager. Okay. Now we have the entity manager. Now we can start interacting with the database. Okay, let's see. What do we first want to do? Oh, I need to import that. Import entity manager. Notice that everything is under the JavaX persistence package, right? That is the JPA library, right, under there. Oh, that's the package where all the interfaces for the JPA implementation are under. Okay. Right. All right. So let's create. So what do we want to do? We want to create all the CRUDs, right? So CRUD. So we're going to create we have to do the create movie. We need to create movie. We want to read movie, right? Read a particular movie by ID, right? We want to read all movies, right? What else do we want? We need to update movie, and we want to delete movie, right? Those are the basic operations that we need. All right, so let's start with create a movie. Okay, so from here, from main, right? The way we want to use our DAO is how we want to get a hold of the movie DAO, right? Here's a DAO, a new movie DAO, and we want to create a new movie. Let's see what movies do we have here. We have Avatar and Terminator. Okay, so let's create a new movie. New movie. And let's see, we have movie that has this over here, right? So this is what the ID. I'm not going to give it an ID, right, because the database is going to come up with the ID, right? So I'm going to say null. And then the title, Titanic. Plot. Oh wait, why is it not? null. Why isn't this not updating? Okay, whatever. Titanic. Plot, here's a plot. Poster, here's poster. And the movie ID. Movie ID. Okay, so I want to insert that. And as far as I'm concerned, what I want to do is say DAO, right? I want to say movie. Oops, sorry. I want to say movie equal DAO create movie. Now the difference here is that when I pass the movie, this movie does not have an ID, right? I don't know the ID because it's not in the database yet. But once it's created, right, I would like for my create movie to return to me, right, a movie. But now that movie does have an ID, right? Because it has been inserted into a database, right? And now I know what that ID is, okay? And actually, I would like to print the movie. So system.out.println movie.getID. Okay? All right, so if it's successful, it'll come back with 3, right? Okay, system, okay. All right, so notice complaining that this create movie does not exist. So it's giving me the option if I want to create it. So I'll say yes, create it for me. Well, I created it down here. I'll move it. Let me move it here. Put it here. There it is. I'll put it here. There it is. It's basically, it's got the signature that I want. Movie, right? And returns null for now because we don't have a movie. Okay. All right. So now, typically, what would we need to do if we're using JDBC? We need to create a SQL statement, right? We need to generate we have to get a hold of a connection, right? We need to create a prepared statement, right, out of the SQL. We need to populate the prepared statement, right, with all the values of the movie. We need to execute the query, right? And finally, we're done, right? Well, here, the only thing you need to do is em persist movie. That's it. That's all you need. Okay, and it makes it into a database, right? And that movie now, I'm just going to return it. That movie becomes a very special movie. It becomes what it's called a managed object. It's no longer a plain vanilla object. It becomes a managed object. Okay, meaning the framework now is aware of this object, and it is now tracking it, right, for any changes that occur to this object because it wants to maintain a synchronicity, right? Hey, this object in RAM, right, now is representing a record in the database, right? So that if anything happens to this object in RAM, I want to know about it, right? Because I want to maintain the synchronicity between these two things, between these two worlds, right? If you do something to that object, I would like to be able to go and update my database equivalently, right? All right, so let's try it. Actually, I was fooling you. We actually do have to do one more thing, right? We need to wrap this in a transaction, right? We need to say start a transaction and then commit any changes, right? So we'll do em dot get transaction dot begin, and finally we have to say em dot get transaction. Oops. Get transaction dot commit. And that's only when the database is being updated. When you're writing to the database, right? When you're doing inserts, you're doing updates, you're doing deletes, right? Those need to be inside of a transaction. Now, transactions can be configured so that I don't explicitly have to do this, right? I'm explicitly doing it, right? But they can be configured so that the framework deals with the transactions, right? So that any interactions with the database will always be wrapped inside of a transaction. Here, I'm doing it explicitly, right? So it could be just one line of code, okay? But right now we're doing it manually. We're starting the transaction ourselves, and we're committing the transaction ourselves. All right, enough. Let's run this, see if this works. I'm going to run this as a Java application. I'm going to run it and say OK. See if it blows up. No. Oh, no. Let's see what happened here. Select. Oh, it did make it in there. Okay, it was inserted. It did make it in there. I didn't get the ID. Why did I get 3? Interesting. Movie, commit, return movie. Oh, I'm sorry. Return movie. Wait, what did it print out? Movie. Oh, get ID. I wonder why not. Okay, what other data movies did James Cameron do? Oh, Aliens. My son was not scared of watching Aliens with me. He's 9 years old. He says, "Really? This is boring." Kids these days. Let's run that again. Huh. Oh, this is interesting. Look what's happening here, right? Notice that it shows you, because I set to log everything, right? It's showing me the SQL that it's using to populate the database, to interact with the database. You know, it generates an insert into movie, right? All the values. So it creates a prepared statement, and then it binds the values, right? Null for the ID, movie ID, you know, the string movie ID, the string plot, the string poster, and the string aliens, right? And then it does the insert. Okay, and if we refresh, there it is. Aliens is in there. Okay. All right. So now that we were able to insert, let's do all the other CRUD operations. So let's read now. Read movie by ID. Let's implement that. Okay. So this one is also somewhat easy. So we can say private. So presumably what we want back is a movie, right? Given a particular ID, right? So if I said here's read movie by ID, right? I want to give it an ID of, say, 3, and I want it to come back with Titanic, right? With the entire object, right? So to do this, we can say integer ID, right? And what we can do is just say we can say em dot find, right? Movie class, meaning I want you to instantiate an instance of movie and then populate it with whatever matches to that ID, that primary key. So I'm going to give you the primary key. I want you to return to me an instance of movie class, right? Already populated. Okay. And find returns what? Find returns. It already returns movie, right? So I can just say return. Okay. There's no need for transactions in this case because I am not changing the database. I'm only reading. Okay. Notice that I don't have to do a connection. I don't have to have a SQL statement, right? I don't have to create a prepared statement, right? I don't have to populate a prepared statement, right? Do a query, right? And then populate my object with all the records, right? All the fields inside of the record that comes back. None of that. Just a single line of code, right? So let's try that. Let me comment this out. Okay. We're okay. So I'm going to say so movie. I'm going to say DAO dot read movie by ID, and I'm going to give it 3, right? And I want to do system dot out dot println the movie dot get title. So hopefully 3 maps to this, so it should come back with Titanic. Okay. Cross our fingers. Let's run this. There it is, Titanic. Right. So yes, we were able to retrieve that one record just with a single line of code. Isn't that beautiful? Right? How about read all movies? Unfortunately, read all movies there is not as trivial. as just a single line of just a single line, it would have been really, really nice if the API would have included a find all. It doesn't have a find all, unfortunately. So we need an extra line of code. Okay. Oh. Okay. So let's create that. What we want to do is return private, right? Private. We want to return a list of movies, right? Let's see. List is list. Let's see. This is read all movies, right? All movies. No parameter. And this is going to return a list of movies. So this, let's see, list. I need to import that Java util. So let's see, I'll import that. Very good. And now I have to retrieve. Notice that if you remember back then when we were using JDBC, we were instantiating a list, right? We were doing a prepared statement. We were iterating our result set. We were instantiating each object, right? And populating it with all the fields in the database, and then adding that object into the list, into the array list, and then returning that array list. Remember that? Okay. Over here, it's much, much simpler. What we need to do is query. It's going to look like SQL, but it's not really SQL. Okay. It's a pseudo SQL. It's a higher level SQL. It's an object-oriented SQL. Right? SQL is not object-oriented, right? And although it's going to look like SQL, it does not reference any tables or any fields in the database. It always references the classes and the attributes in the data model, in our object data model. These are not tables or fields in the database, right? I'll show you. Okay, so query first, we need to import query. And we need this one, Java X persistence, not Java X management. It's Java X persistence. All right, so careful if you import the wrong one. It's this one. All right, so I'm going to create a query that from the entity manager, create query, and I'm going to give it a query. Now this query is going to look very much like SQL, but again, it's not. Right? It's a J. PQL, not SQL. This is JPQL, right? It's Java's persistence structure query language, right? It's not SQL, right? So it's going to look very much like SQL. So this select. I want to select a movie, right? From the class movie, right? That's it. Right? So that's saying I want to select all instances of movie from the class movie. All right, so this is the class movie. This is not the table movie. Okay, I'm saying that this movie is of type movie, right? And I want to select all of them. Right? Notice I don't have a where clause. We'll use a where clause in a minute. Okay, so that's the query. And finally, what we're going to do is query. I want to execute that query, but again, we don't want to expose the fact that there's a low-level thing called SQL, right? Or there's a low-level thing called a database, right? We're just going to say get the result list. Get result list, and result list is just it's going to give us a list representation of this query, right? Of executing this query, right? What does it return? It returns a list of objects. We're just going to cast it. We're going to say return, and we're going to cast this to list of movie. Right, 2 lines of code, right? As opposed to right the 10 or 20 lines of code that we had to write for read all movies, right? Using JDBC. Okay. So let's do that. Let's see if this works or if it blows up. A list movies DAO.read all movies. Okay, and now we're going to iterate over all of them. So we're going to say for movie in movies system.out.println movie movie.get title. Okay, so if this works, it should print out these 1, 2, 3, 4 movies, right? So let's see. Let's cross our fingers. Let's run. and indeed it printed all the 4 movies. Right, so we were able to extract it and map each record in the database into an object in memory. Okay, all right. What else? Let's see what else we have here. We have update movie. So let's write update movie. So update movie, what we want to do is get a movie, right, as an object, and update the equivalent movie that this movie corresponds to. Okay, this might be a movie that we had fetched earlier. Well, actually, it would have to be, right? It would have to be a movie that already exists because we want to update it, right? It has to already exist. That means that we already know what the ID of the movie is, right? So we can say here, private movie, update movie, movie. Meaning you're going to give me a movie, right, that already has the new values for what you want to change, right? Maybe a new title, maybe a new plot, maybe a new poster, okay? And what it'll do is it'll find the record for the ID also in here. Presumably this is a movie that already exists, so I already know the ID. It's already inside of the movie object. It's going to find the record that maps to this instance, right? And says, oh, okay, let's see what's different about them, right? If it sees that the title is different, it'll merge the two. It says, okay, well, I will merge these two things, right? So that if things haven't changed, I won't change them. So if the plot hasn't changed, I will not update the plot, right? I will compare them, and only those fields that change, I will merge them, right, into the database. Make sense? Right? So that now they will be one and the same. Right? Make sense? So what we need to do is, because we are updating the database, right? Typically, the only thing that you need to do is em.merge, and you give it the movie. That's all you really need to do. Right? em.merge and whatever you need to merge. Now, presumably the movie has already the ID in there. It'll use that ID to map it to the correct record in the database, right? But because we are updating the database, right? we're modifying the database. We need to wrap this in a transaction, right? So we'll do em.get transaction begin and em.get transaction .commit changes. Okay. And then we're going to return movie. All right. Okay. So let's see. Let's find a movie. Actually, we had a movie here. There it is, right? We already have a movie here, right? Let's rename this one V. Or what's 3? 3 is Titanic, so I'll call it Titanic. Titanic. Okay, so this should work the same. Let's run this. Make sure that this still works. Okay, there it is. It fetched Titanic, and then it fetched all of them. So this one is this one over here, right? And these 4 is the iteration down here. Yes. So what we're going to do now that we have the Titanic, we want to modify it. Okay, so let's modify it. Let's say DAO dot update movie, and I want to give it Titanic, right? But we haven't done anything to Titanic. Let's say Titanic. I'm going to set the title, or I'll set the plot, right? So it used to be that the plot is what? Plot, right? It was just plot, right? So I'm going to change it. Titanic sinks at the end. Okay. Right, and let's run this. What? What happened? It died on me. Oh wow, that was a crash. Right. So that hopefully it'll go and modify the plot. Okay, and it won't crash on me again. Please allow cancel. Right. Let's try that again. It's heating up. It's like the machine is like. Let's try this. Okay. Notice that there was here it is, right? The update movie set plot. Notice that it's modifying only the plot. Okay, it's very smart, right? Even though I'm passing the entire object, right? It noticed that the only two things the only thing that changed was the plot. So it is only going to modify the plot, right? And the reason is that these objects, right? Once you get them from the database, right? This Titanic object is now a managed object, right? Any modifications to that object are being tracked. Okay, these setters, when you do a set title or set plot, right? These set plot are not my set plot. This set plot over here, right? This set plot is not my. It looks like it is, right? As far as I'm concerned, it's using my set plot, right? What's my set plot doing? It's just modifying the plot. What it does, it creates a sister object that looks just like my object, okay? But, right, it implements exactly the same setters and getters, right? The same constructors, but it has a different implementation, right? It adds implementation, adds code, right, to track changes so that if I change the plot, it says, ah, I know you changed the plot, all right? Right, so it keeps track of what fields changed, right? And so that it can track so that if ever it is called to merge, right, or to save or to persist or whatever, it knows that it only should modify the things that have changed, right? It will flag those fields that are dirty, right? And it will update only those dirty fields, right? Any fields that have not been modified and that are pristine, that are not dirty, will not be updated to a database, right? So it narrows, right, what updates it needs to do to maintain synchronicity between the database and volatile memory space. Okay, make sense? All right, very, very cool. And that's all, the JPA, right, implementation that does that for you, right? It creates these phantom or creates these sister objects, right, that it uses to keep track of what you're doing to the objects. Right, so Titanic syncs. All right. So yeah, so we were. Let's see, what else do we need to do? We were able to set the plot. So we were able to do everything. All right, we still have to do delete. Right. So let's do delete. Let's do delete. So let's do a delete before. Right. Let's movie blah blah blah. Okay, so get the title. What we're going to do is first we're going to delete something, and then we're going to list those movies, right? Let's see, which one do we? Oh, let's see if this changed. There it is, right? The changes made it into a database. Titanic syncs. All right, let's delete the Titanic because it sunk, right? So what we want to do is DAO dot, right? Remove. Delete, oh no, D, right? Delete movie, right? And we're going to give it the movie that we want to, actually what we want to probably do is give it the ID of the movie that we want to remove. So we want to remove 3 over here, so we're going to say 3. Okay, and I'm going to create this. There it is, I'm going to create it. Put it underneath. I want to put it at the top. Put it right here under delete. And what we're going to do here is we're going to hold. Okay, what we need to do, the way to delete it is to first identify the object by ID, fetch it right from memory, from the database. Once you have it in the database, you can say, all right, now delete this object, right? Delete the object. So first we have to fetch it, right? So let's retrieve it. Actually, we already have a method to do that, don't we? we already have read movie by ID that does that for us, doesn't it? Right? But let's do it again. Let's do it again. So let's fetch it. We'll say here's the movie that I want to delete. I'm going to use em find movie.class. Oops. Class for the ID. All right. Now that I have the movie, I can say em dot remove movie. That's it. I find the movie by the ID, and then I ask it to be removed. All right. And obviously, we are modifying the database, so we have to run this inside of a transaction. So we say em dot get transaction dot begin, or em dot get transaction dot commit. Right. So let's remove that. So let's see, it deletes the movie 3, and hopefully when we list all the movies, Titanic will not be there. Okay. So let's run that. So there are Avatar, Terminator, and Alien. So Titanic really did sink. Okay, so let's see that. Okay, there we go. Avatar, Titanic. Notice number 3 is no longer there. Okay, all right. Okay, let's take a short break, and then we'll come back. We'll play around some more with JPA. All right.
直接给一脚。骂啥呀？骂个球。怎么回事？不是真的。
你这还打算那个今天再做吗？你想是吧？我不想，当然可以。
那就开始的意思，咱现在都在做留一篇写作业。
对，还是先把作业做完。
肯定没有大课可以做，去做那个。
Yeah.
And type the code from last week. There is exception. Yes, movies. And I select one of them and want to change.
Yep.
Update them.
Number format 3.
I think the format is
Okay.
good.
No, look at that.
Yeah, what's
See,
that?
look at that. See?
Yeah,
All that. That's all bad, right?
yes.
So where are you getting all that? It's got spaces. You have a whole bunch of spaces here. See that?
Oh,
Now look at all these. Do these have spaces? No.
no.
So when you select, let's see what select is going on. Where are you doing the select?
That's
Here?
from the
Where are you doing the
No.
select? Here?
oh yeah, here. Select and update.
Wait a minute. Where's the page? Here? No. Where's the page? The web page that we're
Web
looking at.
I do not use web page.
Oh, you're just here?
Yeah.
Yeah. You should use a real browser. Okay. Select. Okay, you have a whole bunch of spaces, right? So
Yeah.
let's see what's going on here. Where are you doing the select here? Where's your select?
Just
Okay, let me see. Okay. For control, ID, value, read only, actions, select. Or select here, select. Movie ID.
just get the ID and
Select, right? This movie ID. Okay. All right, so see this title?
yes.
Okay.
Oh,
So that's space. That's space. See?
Yeah.
That's a big space. Oops.
shit. Okay. Oh,
Okay, and you should maybe put that title.
yeah, I just want to see the code over there, so I just print.
Yeah, no, there's one long string.
Okay.
Okay, save. Okay,
Refresh.
refresh. Okay, now it's good,
Yeah.
right?
Thank you.
So,
So I can update it.
update, yeah.
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
All right, let's continue. Damn. All right, let's keep going. Let's get going. All right, so up to this point, we've been interacting with a single table, right? And that's way too simple. So let's see if we can work with two tables, right? And work with at least one of those, the types of associations, right? The types of relationships between tables, right? The simplest of relationships is a one-to-many. And then we have the many-to-many, which basically is really, when you reify it, you end up with two one-to-manys, right? So one-to-many takes us a long way, right? Doing lots and lots of quite useful things, right? We then have others like one-to-one or things like that, right? Or optionals and things like that, but those are easy. But let's look at one-to-many and see how we would implement that, right? So we have here a movie, the movie object, and where is it? Java resources, right? We have the movie in the models, right? And say we want to represent, let's see, we could represent reviews for the movie, right? A movie has many reviews, or a movie has many actors, right? A movie has many different things, right? But let's stick to just one of them. Let's actors or reviews. What should we do? Actors, reviews, actors, actors. Let's do actors. So let's create actors. Now, the way we would normally do it, if this were Java, right? If this were only an object-oriented project, what would we do? We would do something like this, right? We would say private list of actor, right? Actors. Right? That's how, right, from an object point of view, an object-oriented point of view, this is how we would model it. And that's it, right? We would, well, the setters and getters, right? But that's as far as we need to go to model the fact that movies have a lot of actors, have many actors, right? Now, when we need to map this to an object, a relational model, right? The way it's modeled in that world is that it is the actor who would have a foreign key back to the movie, right? That's how you would model the fact that there are one-to-many, right? One movie has many actors. Okay, never mind that an actor can also be associated with many movies, right? We'll talk about that many-to-many perhaps next week, right? But first, let's talk about, you have a one, right, table being associated, one record in one table associated with many records in another table. Yes. Let's first look at that. So again, in the object world, this is as far as you need to go, right? In the relational model, it's backwards, right? It is the child, the actor, who has a foreign key back to the parent, the movie. So it's backwards, right? The way we represent, the way we model in object orientation, and the way we model in the relational world, right? So we have to bridge this gap, between these two worlds. Okay, so let's start with creating. So the way we would implement it in the database, we would create a table actor. Right, so we say create table actor, and we have an ID, an integer. We would have here maybe first name and maybe a last name. Okay, that's it. Let's just keep that, right? Oh, maybe date of birth, DOB, and that's just going to be date. Okay. Let's see what else. That's it, right? Blah blah blah. All right. We're going to apply. Oh, and then we also need the movie ID, right? The movie that it acts in, right? So let's see, movie ID, right? And that's an integer. So this is going to be the foreign key that says, right? Oh yes, I acted in this movie, right? And if you have many actors with the same foreign key, those are the actors that acted in that movie. Make sense? Right? Okay, so let's see. We're going to apply. It's going to create the table. Once it creates the table, we can then go back and add the foreign keys. I don't know why at first it doesn't let me create the foreign keys. Oh, yeah, I don't know. You have to like click and click away and then click back. Anyway, the foreign key, this is going to say the name of the foreign key is going to be actor to movie, right? And it's going to reference the table movie. And it's going to be this one, right? Movie ID is going to reference the ID in the movie ID, right? The movie ID. Make sense? You know, I don't know if I'm going to make it so that if you delete the movie, it'll delete the actors, right? Although that makes no sense, right? But I'm just going to do it so that just to show you, right, that it works. That if you delete the movies, it'll cascade and delete everything that is associated to the movie. Okay. So anyway, so I'm gonna apply, and it's gonna alter by adding the movie ID foreign key that is going to reference to the movie to its primary key. Okay. I'm gonna say apply. And say close. Very good. So we have these two. If we want to insert movie information here, let's look at all the movies. We have Avatar, Terminator, Aliens. So let's add some actors in Aliens. So let's see. So Aliens, the ID for the movie is 4. So let's insert here. So let's go into actors. Right now we have no actors. So I'm gonna say first name Sigourney. Is that how you spell Sigourney? No. Why? No. I don't know. I have to look it up. Oh my goodness. Okay. Here we go. Sigourney and then Weaver, right? Yeah. Weaver. I don't know her date of birth. I'll just leave it blank for now. And movie ID is it's going to reference the movie 4, right? So that's for Aliens. Anyone else of note in Aliens that we know of? Let me see. Cast. Oh yeah, what's his name is there? So where we were, Paul Reiser, Lance, Bill Paxton. Bill Paxton. 4. All right, so I'm just going to apply and insert those 2 records. Okay, so we have 2 actors for that particular movie, right? Okay, we're going to close that. So we want to be able to interact with this information, right? All this relational data business from from the object world, right? So here we have lists of actors. So if I search for a movie, what I'd like to be able to do is, also retrieve the actors that were in this movie, right? So let's see. Let's list is not type. So let's add list. List is inside of import java.util. And actor, the actor class does not exist, right? So let's create the actor class. It's not asking me to create it. Why aren't you not creating it for me? Okay, I'll just go here, models, and I'll say new class, actor. Okay, and presumably this is going to map to a table in the database, right? And it has the same name as the table, so I don't have to give it a name. If instead this had something like this, actor class, right? Or for some reason I don't want to use the same name as the table name, right? What I can do is I can say this is an entity, obviously, right? Let me include that. Persistence. Okay, I can tell it to say that really the name of the table is actor. Right? If for some reason I don't want to use the same names, either because the name they used in the database is a very bad name, it has underscores, and it has maybe it's an abbreviated name, right? And over here we are in the object world. We don't have those limitations, right? We don't have limitations about the size of our tables, right? So we can splurge, right? Whatever the name, we can use meaningful names here in the object world. We don't need to abbreviate these names, right? So this is an example of saying, hey, the class names does not match the table name, right? So I need to tell you explicitly what this maps to. Make sense? I don't like it, so I'm just gonna use this instead. I'm also going to use, I'm going to declare all the fields. So I'm going to say private integer ID. What else do we have there? Private string first. We have private string last and private date of birth, right? So that's date, DOB. Okay. What else? Notice that it's complaining and it says date. Well, there's two versions of date. There's date SQL and date util. We use the util version. Okay, there it is. And we annotate a couple of things here. We're going to annotate that this is our primary key. Okay, I need to include that. Okay. What else is complaining about? It's saying that you annotate it as an entity. It has to be listed in the persistence.xml document, right? So let's go there and list it there. We'll go persistence, right? And notice that we only have movies listed there. We also need to list the other class that we wanted to map to a database. So it's actor. Okay, let's go back to actor. And now we're okay, right? It's not complaining, right? We're good. Other than we're not using the table class, so interface, so I'm going to remove that. What else? There's one more thing that we need to put here, right? This actor in the relational model knows about the movie that it belongs to, right? Even though we normally wouldn't do that in the object world, right? In the object model, right? Because we want to maintain as close as possible these two worlds working nice with one another. Also because I would like to be able to navigate both ways, right? Notice that in the relational model, I can navigate in both ways, right? Given the actor, I can navigate to the movie because I have the foreign key, right? Or I can navigate from the movie back to the actor by joining the tables, right? So I have mechanisms that I can navigate. That foreign key allows me to navigate backwards and forwards between the movie and the actor, right, in the relationship. Over here in the object model, I don't, unless I explicitly add a variable, right, that allows me to have a reference to that other object, right, that allows me to navigate to that other object. Make sense? Right? The only way that from a movie I can get to an actor is through this list. If I wouldn't have this list, I could not navigate from the movie down to the actor. There's no way. But in the relational models, I can, because I can do joins, right? I can join, and I can, with the primary key, foreign key, allows me to navigate between the two tables. But not in the object world, I can't, right? I have to explicitly provide links and references, object references, right, to those instances, right? So this allows me to navigate to my actors, and from the movie, from the actors. If I want to be able to navigate to the movie, I need to provide a reference, right? This is the movie that this actor acted in. Okay. Notice that I do not have a foreign key here, right? That's an artifact, right? That is very low level for the relational model for it to create the relationship between the records, right? Over here, we have a much higher level way of creating the relationships, right? With variables, right? And classes and instances. Yes? Everybody okay? All right. All right, a couple more things. So let's go back to the movie. So we need to tell it. We need to say we need to use JPA to say that, hey, you know what? These two things are participating in a one-to-many relationship between actual tables in the back end in the database, right? So what we need to do is to say the movie is participating on what part of the one-to-many? It's participating on the strong side, right? It's participating on the one side, yes? Whereas the actor is participating on the many side, correct? So we need to annotate this. I can say this list of actors, right? There's no real map of this list of actors in the relational model, right? There's no real mapping of this list in the relational model. I need to tell it, right, that really this is there's a reference, right, from the actors back to the movie, and that's how that's where you should get the list of actors. So we're going to annotate this as this is on the one-to-many. This is on what we're saying here is that this actor, the way this actor is going to be populated is because there's a foreign key from the actors back to the movie, right? And we're saying that we are on the one side of the in a one-to-many relationship, and I need to import this. No, I need to import it. I'm going to say import everything. Import javax.persistence everything. All right, now it is. And now it's, I'm going to say that that this list really is participating in this relationship, and that it should be populated from all the actor instances that reference me, right? I mean, there are going to be lots and lots of actors, right? I only want those actors that reference me. Okay, so I'm going to sell it that it's. I'm going to say that the way that these relate to one another is because it's mapped by the movie fields in the actor class. So the actor class has a movie that is referencing me, right? That's how we know that we are part of one another, right? I only want those actors that have a reference to me, right? Whose instance of movie are referencing me, right? And on the actor side, we're going to say that we are participating on the other end of a one-to-many relationship. We are participating on the many side of a one-to-many relationship. So we use many one. Right, so it's backwards, right? On the one-to-many is one-to-many, right? On the strong side, and on the weak side is many to one, right? Meaning there could be lots and lots of actors that map to the same movie. Okay, so yes, we're participating in many to one, and we need to include that. Okay. And here's one of the issues that we kind of ran into last week, right? I forget if we were using, we were doing movies and reviews last week. I forget, right? And remember when we were reading the movies, right? Not necessarily were we reading all the reviews for that movie, right? Because we determined that it was expensive, right? If we were listing all the movies, do we need all the reviews? Well, maybe not. Only when we navigate to a particular movie, maybe we want the reviews. But when we're listing a summary of all the movies, it's kind of wasteful to have to load also all the reviews into memory, right? If we only want to just list the titles. So we call that technique lazy, right? Lazy loading. We only load what's needed only on demand when we really, really need to, okay? Well, we need to tell JPA that we want that kind of policy, right? We want to say, hey, when you load those movies, I don't necessarily want the actors, right? Maybe because I just want to list all the movies. If I navigate to a particular movie, then maybe list all the actors, load all the actors, right? If I want to see the details of a particular movie, load all the details, yes? So we can configure this through a fetch, right? We can configure what kind of policy, what kind of fetch policy do we want, right? Meaning, when do you want me to fetch the actors? When do you want me to fetch these actors for that particular movie? And we can say there's several options. There's several options. There's eager, and there's lazy. Eager means when you fetch a movie, fetch all the actors also as part of the object. So when you fetch a movie, also the list of actors will also be populated, even if I don't need them, right? So if I'm just listing all my movies, all the titles of the movie, I will have fetched also all the actors, even though I'm not going to display them. You see that, right? Or lazy, right? Only if you ask for it will I fetch them. Only if you if you load the movie and you call get actors, then I will go and fetch the actors, right? But if you don't call get actors, there's no need for me to go, to load all the actors a priori. Make sense? Usually we choose lazy, right? Only if you absolutely need the object to be fully loaded into memory, right? Should you ever use eager? Okay. Right. And one other thing that we're going to need to know is how in the database, how are these two tables mapped to one another, right? How are they joined? How are they mapped to one another? And here we're going to use yet another join. We're going to tell it what is the field, right, that joins these two that implements this relationship between these two records, right? And we're going to say that is the field, the name of the field that is used for resolving this relationship is movie ID, right? Movie ID. Okay, this is how the two records, right? One record of movie maps to many records of actors through movie ID by joining movie ID. Okay, so now it knows that says, okay, if you ask me for a movie, I will look for all the actors whose movie ID is equal to the ID of the movie that you're loading. Make sense? Well, only if you ask for them explicitly, because it's lazy. I'm not going to load them unless you explicitly ask for the actors. Make sense? Everybody okay? Okay, that's all we need. Let's see. Let's go back to movie. And okay, I believe we've configured everything. We have movie. We need just one more setter and getter for our new actors field, right? Let's go to source and generate that brand new actors. We'll need a setter and getter, right? And we'll put it at the end. We'll put it after after set movie. So right before the constructors, I'll put it. So at the end of all the setters and getters. So there it is. So way at the bottom, there it is. Get actors and set actors. So as far as we are concerned, we're still working at the object level, right? We don't know what's happening in the database. Magically, they will be mapped. Okay, from the database, we'll load everything. It'll have the actors. We'll load a movie and it'll have the actors, right? And we'll magically be able to add an actor in the object model and then merge it, and the new actor will be inserted, and it'll know that it's referring to that movie, right? On the actor side, we need all the setters and getters. So let's create all the setters and getters for this. Select all. Oh, we need one more thing. Oh, wait, not at the top. Why at the top? I don't want it at the top. Source. Get it? So at the last member. Select all. So there they are at the bottom. Okay, and the constructor. Constructor with all of them. And I want it last member. There it is. And finally, the constructor with no fields to select all. Last member. Okay. There we go. All right. We have one more thing to do. This date of birth. So this date of birth, if you notice, we in the relational model, we actually have several ways of representing date and time. Right, so this date over here is somewhat ambiguous, right? There is no, unambiguous map to a particular implementation of a date representation, right? So there's several ways of implementing it, right? So we need to tell the JPA, what do you want me to use? You want me to use just a date? You want me to use date and then time, or just time? There's many ways of representing the same thing. We need to annotate and say this is a temporal data type, right? And we need to explicitly tell you what to do. Do you want me to use date? Do you want me to use time? Do you want me to use timestamp? There's many ways of representing it, right? We're going to use date. So that unambiguously tells me what representation of date do I want. Okay? Make sense? All right. What else? What else? I think that's it. Let's go back to movie DAO. Okay. One of the things that we might want to do, right, is to a movie, we would like to add an actor, right? We would like to create a new actor and retrieve. Actually, wait a minute. We already have actors in a movie, don't we? In Aliens. Well, let's see what happens when we retrieve Aliens, right? So Aliens, the movie here, where is it? Okay, we don't need this right now. Aliens is the ID is 4. Okay, so let's retrieve 4. Let's retrieve the movie number 4. Okay, so let's we don't want to delete this. This retrieves all the movies. There they are, right? But let's retrieve specifically Aliens. So let's see, movie Aliens. And I'm going to use DAO dot read movie by ID, and this is 4. Okay, and let's print. Let's do system dot out dot println aliens dot get title. Okay, so let's do that. And let's see if this is going to blow up on us. You guys get the title. Okay, so there it is. So that's our aliens, right? What about the actors? Remember, now we have like a list of actors. What would happen there? Let's retrieve that and let's see. We can say get what? Get actors, right? and then presumably that's a list, right? It's a list, so it should have size. Let's print the size of that list. 2. Okay. So it knows, right, that there are 2 records associated to this one movie, right? There's 2 actor records associated to this one movie, right? So actually we can retrieve it, right? We can say list of actors, and say aliens dot get actors, right? And we need to import the actors. It's that one, very good, yeah. And we can actually iterate over that. So for actor in actors. Oh no, wrong language. Actors. We're going to system.out.println actor.get first name. Okay. And so let's run this again. There it goes, Sigourney and Bill. Right. So notice that just retrieving the object for the movie, it also loads the actors, but it only loads them when I explicitly ask for the actors. Right. Right here, the actors do not exist. They are not yet in the array list, in the list of actors. Right. Only when I explicitly ask for the actors, it says, you need the actors, let me go fetch them. It does another select statement, retrieves the actors, and then it populates the array list for me. Okay, notice that I did not have to create an array list, right? It automatically just works. Isn't that awesome? Okay. All right, so let's add another actor. How about, right? Here's the actors. There's my actors, right? Okay. I would like to add an actor. Right. So let's do that. Let's go over here, right? And I'd like to be able to have in DAO, in my DAO, I would like to be able to pass an actor that to be added to a particular movie, right? So let's do that. Let's add here, right? When you have just a plain table, right? When you're working with records of a particular table, the 5 CRUD operations that we have so far are enough, yes? But when you start having relationships between the various tables, you need, additional operations, right, to maintain those relationships, right? Definitely we'll need to be able to add, right? And we'll need to be able to remove, right? We'll need to be able to add an actor. We'll also be able to remove an actor, right? Correct? We need to retrieve those things, right? So let's first create a private void add actor. Okay, add actor. So we need to tell it, well, to what movie do you want me to add it to? So I'll provide an integer movie ID. Okay, it says I want you to add this actor to that movie. So this is the movie ID of what where do I to what movie do I want to add it to, and this is the actor that I want you to add. Okay. All right. So this actor, actually, what we're going to do, right? We're going to do the following. We're going to fetch the movie first, right? We're going to fetch them like we did earlier, right? We're going to fetch the movie. We're going to say movie. Use the entity manager find a movie for the movie ID, right? Now I have the movie. I have the movie, right? Now that I have the movie, I can say the actor, this might be a brand new instance of an actor, right? That has never been instantiated, right? I'm just gonna create a new actor instances. I'm just gonna pass it in here, okay? So that actor doesn't know that it belongs to any particular movie, right? Right? So what I could do here is say, actor, your movie is this movie. that I just fetched from the database. This is the movie that you acted in. Okay, and then I can say movie. I can say get the actors, and I want to add the actor to that array, to that list, right? What does this do? This fetches the list of actors. So this returns list of actors, right? To that list, I want to add the following actor. Now the list in memory, right? We're adding a reference to this actor instance, right? And finally, we want to send back everything into a database. Now the movie knows about the actors, the actor knows about the movie, right? The relationship has been done, right? In memory, not the database. The database doesn't know anything yet, right? So in memory, the actor now, the movie already now knows about this brand new actor, right? And the actor also knows about the movie that it's participating in. We need to now merge everything and put it back in the database, right? We're going to say em.merge the movie. You okay? Am I keeping you awake? So I want to merge the movie, right? So hopefully it'll go and add the new actor. Notice that even though I'm merging the movie, the movie record is actually not going to be modified, right? What's going to be modified? It's a brand new actor, right? It's going to be inserted, right? And its foreign key has to point back to the movie that it belongs to, right? All right, so remember that here we're modifying the database, so we have to wrap this mechanism around a transaction, right? So I'm going to start a transaction, em.get get transaction dot begin, and em.get transaction dot commit. Okay, all right. Let's see if this works. Let's see if this blows up on me. Any other actors in Aliens? Oh, Michael Bean is the Corporal Hicks. Oh yeah, let's do him. So let's do actor Hicks. Right. So this is a new actor. And this is, I'm going to use this one, integer. I'm going to use null for the ID. I'm going to use Michael for the first name. And last is Bien. So Bien. How do you spell it? How do you pronounce that? What else we have here? Last name, date of birth. I don't know his date of birth. I'll just say new date. And that's it, right? I think that's it. New date. Oh, I need to tell it what version of date. I want Java util. Okay. What else do we need here? Oh, the foreign key is null also. I don't know what the foreign key is. All right. So I am going to add. I'm going to say add. I'm going to say DAO dot add actor to aliens, which is 4, right? So it's 4, and Hicks. I want you to add Hicks to the movie, right? Once that has been added, hopefully this will be an insert into the actor table. Even though we're not, notice that we don't have a actor DAO, right? We are interacting with the actor table indirectly, right? Because of the relationship that it has with the movies, right? We're still manipulating the movie, and the movie has its child, an actor. Okay? All right, let's see if this blows up on us. Okay, there it is, right? So Michael seems to have been added to the list of actors. Let's go into the database, right? And here's the movies. If we refresh, we'll notice that the movies haven't changed at all, right? There's no change in the movies table or records. If we go to the actor, we had only 2 actors here, right? And they were both associated to the Aliens movie, right? If we refresh this, hopefully, there we go. We have Michael Bean, and notice that the date of birth is using today's date. You know, he was born today. Right? Notice that it manipulated the actor table, but through the movie table, right? You can also create a actor DAO, obviously, right? If you want to be able to access the actors, all the actors, regardless of what movie they participate on, right? Which is, you know, it makes sense, right? I just want to, and you can go the other way around. You can say, I want to retrieve the actor, and I want it to tell me what movie did he act in. Okay, obviously this is one-to-many. We're using one-to-many. Next week we'll look at many-to-many, right? Where in the case of the movie, we have a list of actors, but in the actor we also want a list of movies, right? So that we can ask, giving a movie, I can see all the actors that acted in this movie, and from the actors I can see, you know, giving a particular actor, I want to see all the movies that they acted in, right? We'll do that next week. For now, let's just keep it simple. Okay. All right. So yeah, so we were able to insert this, right? All right. So we've been doing this everything from our main, right? From running this as a Java application, but obviously you will want to create some kind of user interface, right? To display this and be able to interact with this, right? So let's create a simple user interface to be able to interact with these tables. Right? So let's create in the web content. Let's create a page that displays all the movies. So let's start with movies. Right? So let's start with movies. So I'll create a page here called movies. .jsp that's going to list all the movies, right? So let's okay. So here's going to have I'm going to have div, and I'm going to have here h1 movies. Okay. So what we want to be able to do here is retrieve a list of all the movies, right? So let's do that. For that, we're going to have to import the DAO. We're going to have to import the models. Right? What else do we have to import? Any utils, classes in there. So let's import them at the top. So import. Let's see. What are the packages that we need? We need these packages, right? So let's copy that into movies. Oops. So let's import all the ORM. ORM? No. DAO, sorry, yeah, DAO star. And let's import also models in here. And let's also import java.util.star. Right, so those are basically the packages that we need, right? Okay, so we want to retrieve all the movies from here. So let's see. So what we're going to do here, we're going to say, get a hold of the DAO, right? So movie DAO. So here's DAO, new movie DAO, and let's retrieve all the movies. So a list of movies. Oops. DAO dot read all movies. I think it is. Why are you not finding it? Didn't find it. Movie DAO, read all movies. Is that the name? Read all movies, yeah. Why are you not finding it? Movies equal DAO dot. No, it's not finding it. Movie DAO. Did I edu, NEU, MSN or MDAO? Yeah. Yeah, it's finding it. It's not complaining about this. Well, whatever. Read all movies. Probably will work. Anyway, okay, so read all movies. So now I have all the movies. I just need to iterate over them to display them. Right, so maybe I want to display it down here. Right, I want to say for movie in movies, I want to display. I want to go to HTML to display this, maybe as a line or as a UL. Right? And I want to display it here as actually an LI, sorry, LI, and this will be movie.getTitle. See, it sees it. Why doesn't it see this? And then close. Oh, let's run it. Let's see if it blows up. Run on server. Next. Run. Oops. Let's see. Read all. Can't see. Read all movies. Interesting. Read all movies. Yes. Is it private? Oh, I hate computers. They always do exactly what they're told. Yeah, these are all private, right? Yeah, let's make them all public. Public. Thank you. We're gonna be here all night. Public, delete. Add actor. Yep. Okay, thank you. There we go. Okay, restarted the server, recompile, and it redeployed. All right, let's go back and let's rerun this. Was it here? No. Okay, let's run it. Server, okay. Finish, restart. Go ahead. Okay, notice that it's, there we go. We have it. All right, we have all the movies. We have, we can access it through a real browser. There they are. Okay, very good. We have movies. We might want to maybe make it a little prettier. You don't have to, but you know, it'd be nice if you make it somewhat presentable, your projects. I'll show you a very easy way of making things presentable. Just go to Bootstrap. And getting started, and link to this CSS style sheet. And put it here in your head. Okay. So that's one. If we refresh, it's already prettier. Okay. In the div, you can add a couple of classes. So this adds some padding on either side. Wait, I think the server didn't restart yet. Did it? Okay, there it is. So there's some padding on the other side. It also makes it responsive. You can use, instead of UL, you can use tables. This is TDs. TDs. You can use PRs. PRs. And these are a table. Although at first it might look ugly. These are just tables. If you paint it a little bit using Bootstrap, table, striped, right? It starts making it look prettier, right? A couple of other fields that we might want here: title, plot, .get, plot. Oops. movie dot get. Let's see what else. Poster. There we go. Starting to look pretty. What else do we want? We want to create new ones. So let's do that. Let's create new ones. So to add one, right? What we could do is in movies we can put a button here. We can put a button here. Button. Well, actually, no, a hyperlink. We put a hyperlink. href. We can go to another page called movie new.jsp. Go elsewhere. So this one is create one. So right now it's just a hyperlink, an ugly hyperlink, but we can make it look prettier by painting it as a button. You can say href button success. That paints it as green. And we can maybe push it to the right-hand side. So pull to the right-hand side. Come on server, deploy. Need to restart. Come on. Oh, well, it's going to look like a button. Okay, I'm restarting. Why are you not rendering as a button? Did I misspell it? Oh, I put an href. Thank you, class. There we go, a button. So it looks like a button, and it's going to want to go in movie new. We don't have movie new, right? So let's create movie new real quick. Let's create movie new JSP movie new JSP. And here, same thing, right? We're gonna need all those same imports. So let me copy this. Same imports. And what we want to do here is what? When we submit, right? When we submit, we would like to do what? Well, here we want a form, first of all. We want a form. So let's create a form. Let's create a form. So H1, this is new movie. Create a form for this. Form. Maybe, where do we want to do? Oh, I don't want to go into servlets. I'm going to make this as simple as possible. I don't want to have to explain another web thing. Actually, no, we did something, right? Didn't we do that? Didn't we create here like a small form the other day? We had a table row, and these were table datas, table H's. We did that, right? And this was title, right? Didn't we do that? And this was title, plot, and poster, right? And we created another row with a whole bunch of input fields, didn't we? Yeah, we did that, right? Yeah, we did. I remember. So this was an input field, right? Input, name, title, right? And we can paint it as a form control. And we can and several TDs, right? And we want the for the title, the plot, and the, what is it? Poster, right? Poster. And one more TD for a button to actually create it, right? TD. And we have here a button that is create. That I want it to look like a button. All right. There we go. So let's remove this button up here. Go back, refresh. There we go. This is something we had created last week or 2 weeks ago, right? Something like this. We need an additional non-breaking space. And obviously, you're free to use anything and all. And don't let me leave without pushing this into GitHub so you can use it yourselves. Okay, there we go. So this is a form that's going to submit. Where's the form? The form would start maybe here. And it's going to submit to myself, right? So action submit to movies.jsp, right? And the create is going to say that this is the button is going to be a submit, type is submit, so it submits, and the name is going to be action, and the value is going to be create, right? And in here we're going to retrieve, right? We're going to retrieve the action string action request dot get parameter action. And then we ask ourselves if the action, if create is equals the action, then we're going to create a brand new movie, right? So we're going to retrieve the title string, title from the request.get parameter title, and string plot, same thing. Plot, and what else? Poster. Right, so this is going to create a new one. So movie, new movie is going to provide null. What else? Title, plot, poster, and movie ID, null. Okay, I'm going to say DAO dot create new movie. Done, right? Let's see if that works. Refresh. So let's bring back Titanic. It syncs at the end. There we go. So it works, right? It just refreshes the page, posts to myself, right? Deletion, also very easy, right? We can, next to each poster, next to each one of them, we can add another button that makes it go away, right? So this is danger, so that's red, and oh, no, not here, sorry. Here, right? Right here, sorry. We're going to use a link, href, that links to me, movies.jsp. Anyway, I'm not going to keep going. We did most of this two weeks ago. So I'm just going to do this, and that's it. Action equal delete. ID is equal, what? ID is movie.getID. And that's it, right? And close that, href, close that, and this is delete, right? And I'm just going to paint this red. This is button danger, so it's red. Oops. Oh, I don't want to do this. Fresh. Okay, there's delete, right? If I click on delete, the action, I also need the ID, right? So let's retrieve the ID. Here's the ID. ID as a string. So this is the ID. So if delete is equal to the action equals action, then we're going to say we're going to convert the integer, the ID from the string. So we'll say integer.parse. Parse integer ID string into an integer, and then we're going to say DAO dot remove, or no, delete movie for the ID. There we go. Okay. So let me refresh this. And if I click here, it removes it, right? So I'm not going to go into all the other ones because we did that 2 weeks ago, right? What's interesting is being able to navigate between the movies and the actors, right? Being able to go and follow the relationships, right? If you have any one-to-many relationship, it's you want to be able to navigate both ways, right? Given the movie, I want to navigate to maybe a details page. In that details page, one of the things I might want to show are the actors, right? So let's make maybe the title a link that goes to a details page. In that details page, we can list the actors, for instance, right? So let's do that. So let's make this movie title, right? I want to convert that into a hyperlink, right? So this is going to be href, go to movie as opposed to movies. I'll call it movie details. How's that? Movie details. Hyperlink, right? So this is going to be a hyperlink. But I need to tell you which movie details I want, right? The details for what movie. So I'm going to pass you as arguments the ID of the movie that I want, and that's part of our fields. So this is movie.getID. There it is. So if I reload this, oops. What happened? Oh, I'm deleting 6, and 6 doesn't exist. Right, so notice that there's hyperlinks. If I click on Terminator, it's going to look for movie details and it passed the ID too. See that? So let's create movie details. New JSP movie details.jsp. I'm going to use the same imports, and I'm going to use the same bootstrap. So let me link that. Okay, this is going to be div class container. This is going to be h1 movie. Well, we don't have the movie, right? We don't know what movie we are doing. So let's fetch the movie. How's that? Let's fetch the movie. Let's do movie DAO. Movie DAO. New movie DAO. Let's fetch the movie. Movie DAO dot fetch by we need the ID, right? So we need that ID. So we DAO read movie by ID. So we need the ID. So where do we have the ID? Is being passed to us as a parameter. So let's get the ID. So let's say string ID as a string from the request parameter dot get parameter ID from the URL string, and we're going to parse it integer ID integer dot parse if I could spell integer dot parse integer ID string. Notice that I'm not doing any validation, right? We need to check this might be null, right? Because I could be navigating to the page without passing the ID, or the ID I could be passing, characters instead of numbers. So all that you would have to, verify yourselves, right? So now we have the ID. Now we have the movie, and so now that we have the movie, we can paste it here. We can say movie.getTitle. So let's reload that. There it is, movie Terminator, right? We can go back. If we click on avatar, it says movie avatar, right? If we go back, we click on Terminator, or we click on aliens, right? So the movie details knows what particular movie you are working on. What about the actors? Let's retrieve the actors, right? We can say h2 actors, and the actors could be in a table, class table striped, right? And I can have here t head and then have T row. Oh, stop it. This is TH, and then this is the first name of the first name, last name, right? Last name, date of birth, and then here in the T body, we want to iterate. We want to do what? We want to do iterate. So we want to iterate over the actors, right? So let's get all the actors. List actor, actors. So this is movie.get actors, right? And then go into a for loop, actor in actors, right? And then list all the actors here in a table row, right? So TR and TD, right, for each actor first, the first name, right, the TD, and then the last name, and then the date of birth. So actor dot get last name, get date of birth. What else? That's it, right? We might need to restart. So let's see. Let's go to Terminator. Okay. All right. There are no actors in Terminator. How about we only added to aliens? There we go. We went to aliens. Aliens has actors. We retrieve them and display them here, right? Okay. And we would like to be able to maybe add actors, right? Additional actors that were part of Terminator. So for that, again, we can create a form at the top for the first name. Right, so here we can have an input, class, form, control, name, first, right? And then have the same thing for all these. This would be last. This is DOB, and we need one last one for a button, right? So this will be button to create. Type is going to submit, and the it's going to be create or add actor. Add. This is class button primary. Okay, and this is going to submit this form to ourselves, right? So action to ourselves, called what? Movie details, right? Movie details.jsp. So it's going to go to just to us. And the button is going to say, the name of the button is going to be create, and the value, wait, no, I'm sorry. The name is going to be action, and the value is going to be create or add or something like that, right? So here we're going to retrieve we're going to run into an issue here. When I submit the form, this page is going to reload, right? And the first thing that's going to look for is this ID parameter. And it's not going to be there, right? Because I'm not passing it. See that? Right? Let me show you. So I came here, right? And this add is going to submit the form. It's going to submit values that I type here, right? And I say add, right? It's going to blow up because I'm passing first, last, and action, right? Right? But I'm not passing the ID. So the ID, the string is null. It tries to parse null, and it blows up, right? And you get I don't know, number format exception. Yeah, it couldn't parse null into an integer. So I'm going to have to pass here a hidden field, right, in the form, right? So I maintain state, right? I maintain state without the server having to maintain state. The state is being maintained on the client, right, in the browser. The browser is maintaining the state. as opposed to the server having to remember that it's this ID, this movie you're looking at, right? We try to make our websites or applications as stateless as possible, right? So that we're not burdening the server with having to remember things about anyone in particular. Okay, so here we're going to have input type hidden the name is going to be the ID, the same ID, right? I'm going to pass this ID to myself over and over when I submit the form, and the value is going to be the ID that we have here, or ID string, doesn't matter, either one. They're both evaluated to the same thing. So I'm going to ID string. Okay. I think that's it, right? Let's see if this works now. Let's go back. Let's refresh. If I say add, so it works the same. Wait, what? For slash? What do you mean slash? Oh, we put quotations around this. Quotations around this. Go back. Refresh. Add. Notice that it comes back to me, right? But it reloads the same information. Okay, it didn't blow up this time because I am passing ID 4. I am remembering that it's this movie that I want the details for. Okay, and I'm remembering that on the client. Right. This is also very useful when users turn off their cookies and they think that we can't track them. Right. We can track them by encoding the URL. Right. And so we can know who they are in their session. Right. And know that, oh, it's the same person. Right. We're still in the same conversation. We know that we're in the same. Right. We can see where they're going. At least in our application. Right. Not across other applications, but within our application, we can still track the person. Anyway, so what do we want to do? We want to retrieve that action, string action, request.get parameter, request.get parameter action, so if what is it? Create. Is it create? I forget. Equals action. Then we want to do what? Oh, we need the DAO. So let's put the DAO above here. So DAO. So we're going to do what? We're going to do. Actually, let's retrieve the movie last. Because if we're going to add an actor, right? When we retrieve the movie, we want to have the movie contain the actor we just added, right? So let's do that last. So create. What we're going to do, we're going to create an actor, new actor, new actor. That's going to have null for the first name. Oh, we need to parse that all out, right? We need to retrieve all of that. So string first request.get parameter first last and date of birth DOB last. All right, and so we're going to have here first, last, what else? Date of birth. We need to parse this date of birth into a date. I'm not going to do that today. You can do that. And movie, I don't know the movie, or do I? Do I have the movie? Well, we need the movie ID. Well, no, actually, it's the what? What does it need? Actually, we don't know what movie it belongs to. We don't know this the movie it belongs to. We're going to use the DAO to figure out. I'm going to say DAO add this actor. I'm sorry, for this movie ID, for this ID, add this actor I just created. Okay? So add this actor. It's brand new actor, doesn't exist. Add him in there, and when I retrieve the movie, hopefully it'll have that that actor included in there, right? So let's refresh this. Okay. Oh, it added it. It added the actor, the garbage. So let's add a real actor. Let's see, who else was in here? I'll just use, wait, what? Oh yeah, that. That was a cool, so James, Cameron, I'll just say add. Ah! What happened? Line 25, blah, 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 exception, blah, 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 persistence, null, 0, primary key, blah, 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 in unit. Yeah, primary key, what? Primary key, null. 25. ID is null? ID is not null. Go back. This property, blah, blah, blah. Entity, movie DAO, blah, 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 blah. Validation exception, primary key, set description, null or 0 primary key encounter in unit work, blah, blah, blah. So it doesn't like this null over here? New date. Isn't that how I created it before? It is, right? Hicks, null, blah, 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 new date. Yeah, that works. Add actor. New movie details. Create, yada, 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 create. First. We have first, we have last, we have date of birth. Ooh, date of birth is null. That shouldn't matter. Action is create. It worked earlier, didn't it? ID. Those are the actors. All right, I'll debug this. 25 ID. Is it the ID is null? The ID is null. 25. Integer ID. No, it should not be null, right? Because I passed the ID 4. 4 actor. No. All right, I'll take a look at this. Let me push this to GitHub before we leave. Let me create here GitHub. This is, let's see, GitHub, Januzzi. I'm going to create a new repository. Remember, for your projects, you need to submit, right? You need to submit your code in GitHub, right? And share with us the link to your repository, right? And repository, so I'm going to create a new one. So I'll call this, let's see. Wait, what did I call the other one last time? CS5200. Did I call it movie something? Why is this rendering so ugly? Oh, there it is. Movie Social Network. So I'm going to call it the same, but it'll be Movie Social Network ORM. Okay? So let's say new Movie Social Network. Okay? ORM. Right? Public, create repository. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to first stop the server. Let me stop the server. Okay. And I'm going to go physically into that. Let's see where we are. Okay, we're here, so I'm going to go up. I'm going to list. I'm going to go into ORM, right? So I am going to init, and here GitHub gives you a cheat sheet. This is going to be our very first commit. I'm going to init, git init. Okay, I'm going to say we're going to add that one file, that README file, and we're going to do our first commit. And we're going to add this Git as the repository, the remote repository, and push the master. Okay, going to ask me to log in. Januzzi. Okay, it's pushed. Now when I refresh this next time, it shows the one file that it's in there, right? Let me get a git ignore for Java Eclipse, Java Eclipse web project. Git ignore master. There we go. So metadata. I don't want to put any settings, load path, or temp, or C project, target. I don't want any of that. Very good. So this is a git ignore that for Eclipse that will allow me to ignore all sorts of things. Because in here, for instance, if I do an ls, right? If we go into Movie Social Network, notice that we have here build, right? We have the build has classes. We have a whole bunch of stuff that we don't want to push, right? Where are we? ORM. Okay. So I'm going to copy this, but this doesn't have class path, target. No, this doesn't have build. Eclipse, community, for Java Eclipse project. Target war. Okay, I don't want target. I don't want classes, war files, jar files. Okay, all right, this sounds better. So I am going to create a file in here. Where is it? We're in Documents, ORM. We create here. Oh, I can't say touch dot git ignore. Okay. Where'd it go? It's not showing. Did I put it in the right place? Oh, it is there. Okay. And I can say open.gitignore. There we go. I'm going to paste that in there. I'm going to save it. Okay, now I'm going to add everything. Git status. Okay, all right. And then, ooh, libraries. I don't want libraries. Okay. I don't want the servers either. I only want Movie Social Network. Very good. I don't want DS store either. Let me add that. Ignore that. Okay. I think we're okay. So git add, git status. There we go. So we have the web.xml, the hello JSP, the movie DAO, the actor Java, all the classes are there. Persistent.xml is there. All the JSPs are there. Very good. That's all you need. Okay? All right. So let's push this. So git commit And this is all source code. And I'll push this. And now next time you come to the repository, where is it? Where's my repository? Is it this one? Oh, refresh. There we go. Here we go. We got movie network. You have the source, right? You have the ORM. You have the DAOs are there, right? You have the models, right? You have the JSPs, movie details, movies, movie details. Okay, everything's there. You'll still need the jar file, right? MySQL jar connect file, right? You still need to install Eclipse Link, right? But it's all recorded here. You can go see how I recorded it. It's very easy, right? All right. Let me stop this.